Hello again everyone. It's been a little while since we've seen and done anything with my Trials Cub replica, and after the last time it went out with friends quite a few months back now on a muddy Friday, by the time I got almost all the way round what we were doing and on the way home, the clutch had become rather sort of heavy and unpleasant to use. The cable had become stiff, and I found that there were a few strands broken in it, so I changed the cable. But in doing so, I also sort of found or reminded myself that years ago, is an example of a clutch operating arm here, I had to put a screwdriver in the forked end of the clutch operating arm to spread it enough to get the old cable out and then the new cable in. And I was a little bit sort of disturbed by how easy the forked end opened up and then closed back again when I pinched it with pliers. I think it's you shouldn't really have to touch that, but I think it was a previous repair I did years ago where I must have found that a clutch cable nipple might have all but worn away and was starting to pull through and spread the forked end, and of course, anyway, as a result of all that, it got weaker. When I put the new cable in and went to close it up a little bit with the pointy pliers, it went a bit too easily for my liking, and I know that eventually I'm going to have to take the outer timing cover off and probably change the operating arm. That's one of the reasons why I dug this one out actually. But unfortunately, with these side points engines, if you do that, you've got to disturb the points operating cam, the advanced retard mechanism and everything, and in some cases with a high level pipe, I think they probably get away with it on this one, but in some cases we've even got to sort of get the high level pipe out the way to get the cover off. I think this one would actually come off, but anyway, I digress. I didn't want to disturb the ignition timing because it's running so nicely. I know I could do it again, I could set it again, but I thought, well, for now, until I really have to go in there, is there something else I can do just to sort of buy me a bit of time? And basically what I've done is I've taken a nut of a suitable size at the end of the operating arm and just sort of pass through it. This is just as an example, this one. And I've cut a slot in one of the flats to clear, obviously, where the clutch cable needs to pass through it out the back. So if you imagine, I've got this, hang on, there we are, got the nut fitted like that, say, and then one flat, I've slotted it in a similar manner to the end of the clutch operating arm so that the cable can pass through it, obviously. I've got a close enough fit of the nut in there, as you might be able to see. I've got that on there, that it's quite a firm fit on the operating arm. Now, I was a little concerned that maybe with the engine running and in use and whatever, that perhaps that could shake off. And if it did, it could drop down into there, but there's nothing actually moving or spinning in there. Nothing that can really come to any harm if it did. But I closed the nut up just enough to be a snug fit on the clutch operating arm, so it sort of stops any likelihood of the forked end spreading open when the clutch is in use. And if the forked end did try and spread, it would only bear up tighter against the nut anyway. But on top of that, by the time I put this rubber bung back in the engine, and considering the position of the nut there, when the clutch is released, i.e. in the relaxed position it's in now, this little recessed area in the bung is going to contain the nut. Even if it did try and escape, it wouldn't be able to. When you pull the clutch, that's when the forked end tries to spread on the clutch operating arm and the fit of the nut becomes even tighter. So I'm going to give that a go anyway and see how I get on. I'm hoping that it'll be able to sort of control and prevent the forked end of the clutch operating arm that I've got in there from spreading and breaking and then becoming totally useless. So we'll watch this space and see how it goes, but I really didn't feel like using this bike again too much, because I had in the back of my mind that had become weaker, and at any moment the clutch cable might slip through it, it might spread open, it might break or whatever, and then I'd be riding home or trying to ride home clutchless, and I certainly didn't want to have that happening deep in the woods or anything. So I'm pretty confident that that lot will hold, and I just thought I'd share it. It could also be used for like the likes of BSA C15s and B40s and so on, and it might just be something, I know it's a bodge, but it might be something that might just buy a little bit of time, or perhaps see someone through a weekend trials meeting or something like that. I hope that it might be a handy little bodge. It'll just keep me out of trouble with this one for a little while longer at least.